Hi, thank you for taking the time to review this video and learn about PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy, and what it can do for you, your colleagues, and your clients. Property Assessed Clean Energy is an innovative way for property owners to pay for energy measures without taxpayer funds. Funds are borrowed from private capital providers with an assessment placed on the property, which the property owner pays annually. PACE can be used with existing financing as part of a capital stack. So a senior lien, a mezzanine financing package, utility incentives or rebates. To be eligible, PACE measures must reduce energy or generate power for the property. That power generated must be renewable. Give you some ideas for available projects. Think roofs, lighting, windows, solar, HVAC. Anything that can save the property owner money and energy will be eligible. So PACE can finance up to 100% of the project's cost, as long as those project components, again, are related to energy efficiency and renewable energy. Value proposition for PACE is that's a fixed interest rate for up to 20 years, and it's paid annually instead of monthly, allowing you or the property owner to deem the savings on a monthly basis, anywhere from 6 to 36 months before your first payment is due. So if you're working in Missouri, PACE is available in a number of communities throughout the state. If you have partners or colleagues around the country, there are 37 states that have authorized PACE, 22 of them are active. Illinois is growing stronger out of Chicago. Northern Arkansas has some programs. Omaha and Lincoln have some as well, as we look at our neighbors. Missouri's PACE program was launched in 2010. It does have some requirements that are spelled out, but otherwise it's fairly broad. It requires that the property owner own the property. It talks about how it's collected. It talks about what's allowed to be financed. But the key thing is there that it demonstrates or requires that the property owner must have saved more money than the project cost over the term of the loan. And we use modeled numbers to figure this part out. When we look at the savings, we look at the useful life of the measure. Say a HVAC unit has a 15-year useful life. The energy escalator, which is when you look at the utility costs, those go up. So we add that. So your energy savings go up over time as well. Your projected energy savings, and that is one of two things. You either look at what you're replacing. You're replacing a 20-year-old boiler with a new boiler, and what are the energy use variations, or you're building a new building and you look at building the local building code, and your baseline is the building code and you build above that. You look at maintenance and operational savings and an escalator associated with labor cost increase. Think a variety of different upgrades will reduce labor costs, whether it be roofing, lighting, those items, so that savings can be added to it. Additionally, avoided capital costs. One, if you were financing fixing something, or there was a different financing tool you were going to use, all of those things go into the savings along with utility incentives and rebates. So what are the benefits? Property owners have the potential to increase rental costs by transferring the PACE assessment, some or all, to their tenants. It reduces O&M costs. It will improve, the retention rate of your tenants by making sure that their facility is more comfortable. If they're paying the utility, it's that their utility rates are lower. The thing to know is that PACE financing is an assessment. It's an ad valorem tax. It's not a loan. So it's likely, and you should speak to your accountant on this, but it is likely that the impact of PACE on your cash flow, debt, credit is different than a traditional loan. Like other property tax assessments, PACE obligations are stay with the property. That means that it is possible upon sale that the property will be able to keep that PACE assessment and be transferred to the subsequent property owner. And unlike a mortgage, repayment is not necessarily accelerated or demanded at the time of sale. That is usually a negotiation parties have at the time of sale of a property. The benefit of PACE to the community is that it increases property values. It protects the tax base. It increases local economic activity. Energy jobs are local jobs. They can't be shipped out. It also promotes a cleaner environment by making sure that properties are more energy efficient, increasing renewable energy. So as I had mentioned before, some values and benefits of PACE, that it's a 20-year fixed interest rate. It's amortized. It can cover both soft and hard costs, so 100% of the financing. Your first payment isn't due from anywhere from 6 to 48 months, depending upon when the closing is. You can be cash flow positive from day one when you look at the rebates of whatever you're installing, the incentives, and the fact that you start saving immediately, but your first bill isn't for a number of months. It's non-recourse financing. Repayment obligation is transferable at sale. And as being an ad valorem tax, it's a high likelihood that there's off-balance sheet accounting. And it does help solve the owner-tenant split incentive issues. Part of Show Me PACE is that we do require senior lender consent. So the mortgage lender on the property must provide consent for PACE because it takes the senior lien position. This senior lien position is only for that amount that is due or any amount that is in arrears. So nationally, more than 200 commercial senior lenders have consented to CPACE financing. 32 of them have consented multiple times. Missouri, through Show Me PACE, has seen nearly 20 senior lenders, more than any other district, and we have seen lenders consent multiple times. Here are just a few. So when we look at the value proposition, I wanted to show you here what a short-term bank loan compared to a PACE loan may look like. We'll get to this here as the PACE version. But what we see here is that in this example, you have a project that's going to save you $50,000 a year in savings. The maintenance component of the savings analysis is $20,000. So as you can see, the annual savings is $70,000. The debt payment that you owe on a traditional bank loan, one, is due immediately. Two, it is, in this case, $87,000. And that net savings for the first year, the net savings there is minus $17,000. So you're losing money immediately because you haven't accrued the savings yet. And that continues to grow as that debt payment goes forward. If we take the same value, the same project, what we find is that because it's amortized over 20 years, that debt payment is $42,000 a year, which means in day one or year one, you are saving $27,000. You are cash flow positive in year one. And as you can see, it goes forward. This only shows the first 7 years. And if we go back and we look, we know that the short-term bank loan is about 5 to 10 years, fixed interest rate for 5, variable after that. And that's where the difference is. If you can see a payback in less than 10, less than 7, your traditional bank loan may be beneficial to you compared to the longer term as far as the interest impact on your property. So who's doing it? What does it look like? Well, as we can see nationally, residential PACE is dominating the market with over 220,000 projects and over $5 billion in PACE financing. Commercial, these numbers are older, but we're actually closer to 1,900 or 1,850 projects right now, and well over $1 billion financed in PACE. In Missouri, it's complete opposite. Commercial PACE is the one that is dominating the market, with more than 84 million and 40 projects done in commercial. In residential, 34 million with 2,500 projects that are done. As far as Show Me PACE goes, we have traditionally been a commercial PACE district. And with that, we have done more projects, both by dollar value and number, than any other district in the state. We, as of this week, will have closed 30 projects, and the total financing will be north of $60 million. And the total savings for these projects, it will be north of $70 million. And the total economic impact of these projects, this is the construction costs, is more than $320 million. What we see is that $59 million of PACE financing has facilitated and leveraged $320 million of local economic development. So when we break that down even more, what we see is that the projects themselves, when we look at what sector they're being used, it's pretty broad. These are Show Me PACE numbers. What we see is hospitality at 40%, 41%, mixed use at nearly 30%, recreation at about 11%. Those are the financing numbers. Hospitality about 25 million, mixed use at 23 million, multifamily about 4 million. And when we look at the economic, and that is where PACE has leveraged these dollars, what we see is that it spreads it out a little bit more. So we see that mixed use is about 33%, hospitality at 13%, multifamily at 18%. So this gives you a breakdown of the different types of projects that are being done and the dollar value for those projects. Now, depending upon your region, at least for Show Me PACE, the impact of these projects, the number of these projects does vary. But we see the vast majority of our projects, almost 40 million, have been done in the Kansas City region here on the western side. But we have projects in the Southwest, Central, St. Louis, and Kansas City region, and hope to find some projects in Southeast and North Missouri. The economic impact of this is nearly $200 million of economic impact in Jackson County, or in the Kansas City region alone. So those are some high-level numbers, and I thought you might like to see some specific examples of projects from different types of sectors. So you can find all of this on our website. If you go to showmepace.org/projects. Here is an example of a recent project done in 2020, a hotel. All of our projects you will see on the right side will be the project highlights, the key points, as well. On the left is a narrative. But here you can see it was a hotel that was doing lighting, windows, heaters, HVAC, as well as low flow fixtures. Now, Missouri doesn't allow water savings to be accrued, but low flow fixtures do impact energy use through water heaters. So that savings can be calculated and added into PACE. But here, total savings was 3.7 million. And the PACE financing was $2.4 million at an interest rate at 6% even. Another interesting project here in Kansas City is a industrial facility used as a art installation, an art community, just solar, 107 kilowatts, about $480,000 in savings, and $158,000 in PACE financing. PACE facilitated 100% of the financing for this project at nearly 7% interest rate in 2019. Interest rate is based off of the local community, or pardon me, the local treasury note, and it is all based off of the year as well. Here we see a great example of the ability to address the split incentive between tenant and owner. A shopping center where the interest rate is about 6.75%. They did a variety of different things to give the front a facelift. So roof replacement, exterior lighting, parking lot lighting, HVAC, EFIS repair, even storefront windows. So all of that together provided $938,000 in savings. And there was the PACE financing of $1.3 million. So when we see that, do know that there is some components that are, these are energy savings versus complete dollar value savings. So when you think of, maintenance and operations and capital cost avoidance. So when you see this difference, that's what the difference between the PACE financing and the dollars saved through the energy are. Another example, great use for many of you would be the Edge West in Creve Coeur, which was a mixed-use facility built from scratch. So it's a new build. 2020, again, at 6%, very similar to the other project in 2020. About $3.2 million in costs and a little over $3 million in savings as well. So PACE can also be used for multifamily, and again, it can address the split incentive as well, whether that's new, like this project, the Oliver and Olivet, or a retrofit. The landlord and owner would need to do the project, but then no matter who pays that, you can transfer that either through raised rents or alternative utility fees that are passed on to the tenant. As the tenant will see more comfort and a cost savings. But here in this multifamily, you can see that they did envelope improvements, lighting, and water heaters. And with that, it was 6% as well. So you see that it doesn't matter the project, the interest rate is fairly the same on many of these projects throughout each particular year. One of our first projects that we completed was in 2017 in Chesterfield. It was an industrial project that did both office and manufacturing side. Here you can see that they had a 30% energy savings. The interest rate was under 6, and their term was only 10. So it's coming up here in about 6 years. They chose a shorter term, and they'll save a significant amount of money, almost double of what the PACE financing was. And here PACE covered 100% of the financing. In addition to traditional commercial, there is private education. The first school done in Missouri, the Columbia Independent School, in 2018, they did solar, HVAC unit, as well as a few other items. And here, 2018, again, the term interest rate was a little higher, but at 7.2 for 20 years, a significant amount of savings for this school, triple what the PACE financing cost was. And PACE paid for 100% of this. So if you're interested in PACE, what you can do, or if you have a client that's in PACE, if you go to our website and here in the bottom, access project interest form and project application. You click on that and that'll take you to the interest form. Now what'll happen is you'll fill this out, which again, looks at, make sure the owner is involved, the county, the location, the type of projects that you're looking at, the general cost. We don't need details at this point, but what we will do is we will use the information that you provide us here in this interest form, which verifies that the project is available and authorized. So we look at making sure you've paid your mortgage, that you have paid your taxes. We look at all that information, we put that together, and then we share that with our capital providers. So you'll submit that form and we will verify the eligibility. We share that with our lenders. The capital providers will then reach out to you, either the contractor or the property owner, and talk with you about what the project is and determine if there's a term sheet that will be provided based on mutual interest. Then the property owner will select the capital provider. So we have 13 capital providers that will fund a variety of different projects, not all the same, from anywhere from $80,000 to $50 million and up. So we can fund any project that you have an interest in or a need for. So after you select your capital provider, you will work with them to facilitate the underwriting of the overall project. And then both you and the capital provider will submit to us an application. So that application will be submitted to us completed. Show Me Pace does both a technical review as well as a legal review. We verify the savings, the mortgage lender consent, the eligibility. We look at the contract documents, make sure that they're in line with both program policies as well as state. At that point, at the time of closing, lender supplies 100% of the financing. They'll pay the administrative fee, the district fee, soft costs that are rolled in. If it's a larger project, some of those dollars are put into escrow, and then some of those are released immediately. Show Me Pace will then file the assessment with the county recorder, as well as with the county collector and assessor. These are then on file, and that way, if the property is ever sold, then parties will know. Show Me Pace uses a third-party collector in all communities outside of Jackson County. In Jackson County, the county collector collects the assessment, but outside of that, Show Me Pace uses AmeriNet to service those bills. So you would get two bills, one from the county for your property tax, and at the same time, you get a bill from Show Me Pace, breaking down the bill that you would owe for your assessment. And then you would pay AmeriNet through that system, and they would then remit it to the capital provider. So why look at Show Me Pace? There are multiple districts in the state. Well, Show Me Pace, one, has been recognized nationally through our Pacesetter Award for our achievements and excellence in supporting environmental, economic, and resiliency in the local community. We are effective, we are efficient, and we are transparent. Our approval timeline is in 7 days. Our process, as we've gone through here, is transparent. You know the fees right up front. There are no surprises when it comes to working with us. We have the lowest cost in the state and one of the lowest costs in the country. And that is because we are a nonprofit administered district. The Missouri Energy Initiative, which I am the executive director, is the administrator for Show Me Pace. This program is open to all building owners, developers, contractors, and capital providers. All of these entities, the contractors and capital providers, are vetted if they are within our program. All capital providers are approved and vetted by the Show Me Pace board. Show Me Pace works very closely with our local communities to support economic development and sustainability through MEI, which we'll talk about here in a minute. We work outside the box to address energy issues and opportunities in the state not traditionally found in PACE around the country. We are strong believers in mortgage lender consent, as it may not be provided by the state statute. Our board has been requiring that since the beginning. We are the only open market program where the property owner, the contractor, knows the capital providers that are available, that can bring their own capital providers, where the capital providers are vetted. We use a third-party collector for all of our commercial projects outside of Jackson County. If we are doing residential in that community, which we did start in 2019, we get an agreement with the local collector to begin with. Otherwise, we won't work in that community. We do lender consent for all commercial projects, and we do lender notification for all residential projects. We have first-class best practices, both in our process and in our consumer protections program. So as an example, here are some of our capital providers that can fund projects. If you're in certain communities in Jackson County, St. Charles, you can get funding for commercial projects from 2,500 to 80,000. If you're outside of those communities, you can get 80,000 and above. And again, we do new construction, we do renovations, improvements, we do refinancing, retroactive financing. We have on-demand available funding and fast approvals. Show Me PACE, since the beginning, has made sure that those that guide it and oversee it for oversight are those that are directly involved and engaged in such a program. So what we look at is our board currently has experience with accounting, auditing, environmental, administrative law, realty, and finance. And they bring a world of experience to the oversight of both MEI, capital providers, and our projects. So as an example, MEI is committed to Missouri. As you can see here, we have been around for 10 years. We're made up of nearly 30 different organizations that are committed to Missouri, committed to local economic development, committed to collaboration, and MEI is dedicated to facilitating solutions to those issues that are facing Missouri. If at any time you do have a question about PACE, you have a question about MEI, you'd like to be involved, please do not hesitate to contact either myself, Josh Campbell, or Travis Wood, and we'd be happy to work with you, solve any problems, answer any questions, make any connections. Thank you for the opportunity.